Hey guys, this is Charlotte, and you're watching Going In Raw.
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
Whew, hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found, and of course, taped live right here at the Twitch at twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. Another Hell in a Cell in the books, and boy, what a show it was.
It was a show.
They definitely held a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view tonight. Seems to be a mix of opinions if our chat is to be believed, but there were some real head-scratching finishes to some of these matches. I'll be honest, my take, and then I'll let you do whatever you want to do. I thought there was some really good wrestling. A lot of these finishes left a lot to be desired. Larson, have at it.
I think it was another situation, as you mentioned, where the performers are out there performing to their best. A lot of good wrestling. You can't quibble about what we saw in the ring from a performance aspect. But especially on the Raw side of things, once again, creative hamstringing the performers with shoddy, completely nonsensical finishes. In the case of Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley. Where Rhea and Charlotte are outside, Rhea grabs the hood of the announce table and just basically just kind of flips it up in the air. It hits Charlotte in the head. And for the first time I can think, that led to a DQ. Based on the rules WWE has created in their universe, where during the course of a normal non-DQ match, as long as you can beat the 10 count, you could. How many times has Randy Orton belly to back suplex someone to the announce table during a match? Every fucking match he has. That's how often he does it.
Yeah.
Never a DQ.
Yeah.
Never. Here, it's a DQ. In commentary, it's like, oh, she was trying to get herself DQ'd. Like, she would look like she was reaching over and was almost trying to use the table to pull herself up, and that happened accidentally. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I can't think of a time when that would be considered a DQ. I understand the concept of trying to make people look strong, but there's a way to do it. There's a way not to do it. And we saw tonight was a way not to do it.
You know how you make Rhea look strong? Beat Charlotte.
Well, they're not going to do that. They want to keep the look. The reason why I picked Charlotte to win this match was simply because I never in a million years envisioned Rhea Ripley pinning Charlotte in the middle of the ring. Never thought that was going to happen. This could have gone the other way. It could have been Charlotte flinging that table at Rhea Ripley, and the exact same thing could have happened.
Given the story they were laying out in advance, where it was Rhea continually pushing Charlotte's button, so Charlotte would fly off the handle.
Yeah.
You know, she was going crazy because Rhea would have kept needling her. And then for this match, they decided to flip that.
Mm-hmm.
It was Charlotte the one that was needling Rhea.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, she can be able to overcome that, stay focused, and get the W to get her win back after losing at WrestleMania to Charlotte last year. And the answer to that was no.
Yeah, getting the win back from WrestleMania, look, I think that'd be great. I never thought it was going to happen at Hell in a Cell. I didn't think... I honestly just figured this would have been Charlotte straight up winning because they're resetting stuff, the good shit's about to come. And I was like, okay, well,
stop saying that.
Well, I'm sorry. Well, because they're resetting stuff. Charlotte's gonna have the title again. That didn't happen, obviously, but no, I think it's funny because so many people have pointed this out. The writing between the two brands is really evident. I didn't even like how Rollins Cesaro's match finished, but I can appreciate what they did.
From the story standpoint, it makes sense. From the story standpoint, it makes a ton of sense.
I felt like, and we'll talk about that when we get there, but I felt like that was a SmackDown TV finish to a pay-per-view match, and that was my main problem with it. The Bianca Bayley match was terrific with a killer finish. That was my match of the night easily.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley could have been a contender for match of the night. But my God, a roll-up finish inside Hell in a Cell? I'd rather the finish that we saw where Brock Lesnar shows up, rips the cell door off, and gives us a no finish or a no contest or whatever when he lays out Roman and Braun, because it's like, oh, it's violence. You know, they can't finish this match because it's violence. Then a roll-up in Hell after 25 minutes of sheer brutality, because that was a hell of a match.
There's several issues with that. The finish to the main event was, in a lot of ways, in terms of the story being told, too similar to the finish of Seth Rollins and Cesaro.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of similarities there. And I think at the end, they're like, how can we maximize the heel heat on Lashley for beating Drew?
Mm-hmm.
You know, interference from MVP just isn't enough. You know, it's a situation where MVP interferes, leads to Drew being rolled up, and people are going to be like, oh, wow, Lashley snuck away with a win here that he might not deserve. Heat on him. But, like, shit doesn't work that way anymore. When we see these finishes, they're like, why did you do that? It's not, oh, heel heat on Bobby Lashley. No, heel heat on whoever booked that garbage.
Yeah.
Decided that was the finish of the match. And that's not the right kind of heat. We're not directing heat at Bob Lashley for sneaking out a win and thus, you know, costing Drew any subsequent shots at the title. It's like, why would you finish this match, a blow-off match?
Yeah. That's
going to seal Drew's fate potentially in terms of going after that title for probably a few months here.
Yeah, because this is it. That's the stipulation. Yeah, you're done. Yeah.
With a roll-up. You can still have MVP interfere like he did at WrestleMania in more direct fashion like we saw tonight. But give Lashley the more definitive win.
Yeah. You know, even that bit of storytelling, and I'm not going to give anybody the benefit of the doubt on the Raw side of things because we see what kind of programming Raw gives us. But, you know, you had the beat at WrestleMania, and I think maybe what they're going for is you had the beat at WrestleMania where MVP distracts Drew, and that leads to him being in the Hurt Lock. Well, in this case, MVP does more than distract Drew, but Drew is still not ready for this. He's still not paying attention to the guy who screwed him over at WrestleMania, MVP, and then maybe the thought is, well, he'd be prepared for a Hurt Lock because he's been screwed by MVP before and he expects the Hurt Lock, but instead he gets rolled up. That's the only line of logic I can think in the booking of this match.
But here's the thing. When Drew gets rolled up, his back is to Lashley.
Yeah.
Completely. You know, like his back is completely, because Drew was kind of bent over trying to get his hands on MVP. So if Lashley would have come behind and bang Hurt Lock, there's not much Drew could do about it.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
You know?
I agree.
It wasn't like in the situation where Drew was really
cognizant of where he was and everything.
Yeah, or where Lashley was, you know, in relation to himself or what he could potentially do. He was just completely focused on MVP rather than on Lashley. This is another thing in WWE where if you're a face and you're distracted by something, bang, you got tunnel vision on whatever that thing is that's distracting you. You're like completely unaware to whatever else is going on.
Yeah, and it's such an overdone, you know,
trope. Yeah,
that just it's rammed into the ground too much. But yeah, and then we had, so I don't know. Let's just dive into it. Maggie brings up a good point. She says silver lining. This is the last pay-per-view. This is actually a really good point. This is the last pay-per-view in the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
You know, so this is
they
how
hopefully they got rid of all their bad ideas here and here on out.
Well, there's good shit to come. And she says, so fans will be able to express their opinions in person now. How do you think fans would have reacted to the finish of this match? I don't think they would have booted out of the building.
Oh, to Hell in a Cell?
To this pay-per-view tonight, like they did in 2019 with Seth versus The Fiend.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been as harsh, but I don't think it would have been looked upon kindly. I think the last two matches, I think Rhea and Charlotte and the main event, I think both of them would have been booed pretty strongly.
I think, the no finishes people, the no contest, the Fiend, the Brock, Braun stuff, Roman stuff, they would have, they booed that. They were like, man, that crowd felt like they got screwed out of their money. I think this just would have been like, oh man, that sucks. But who knows? I don't even know if fans would be into Drew McIntyre anymore. I mean, they might have been completely turned on Bobby Lashley now. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I could be totally wrong because I'm thinking to myself. But yeah, anyways, before we dive into the nuts and bolts of the review, I want to give a quick shout out to a couple of new patrons here. Cameron Cherry, Monochromatic Vice, Justin, and Jerry Watts, our new patrons. Get all sorts of bonus content there on the Patreon at patreon.com/ Steven Larson, also at the $20 tier, you can get the Steven Larson Going in Raw comic book. This is exclusive to the $20 Patreon. Look at that, full color, and it's got a really crazy adventure with Steven Larson here. This is a good stuff, part of the Friendo Care package.
Yeah,
fresh off the
story.
press.
Story that only be told in the pages of comic books. It
Smells,
costs billions of
doesn't smell
dollars.
like anything. It has no
to
smell whatsoever. Interesting.
Major motion picture. It's got to have some smell.
It has no smell whatsoever.
It's got to have some smell.
Bereft of smell, I tell you.
Don't believe you. I don't believe you.
I
think your olfactory senses are failing you, Steve.
Could be. Do us a favor, though. Give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Also, if you're listening to us in the audio realm, leave us a rating, review, or comment. Goes a long way towards helping us build Going in Raw. Let's hop right into it. What was who won the kickoff show? I did not watch the kickoff show.
I watched the kickoff show. It was pretty short. Natalya won. Sharpshooter Mandy tapped out. It was Mandy Rose versus Natalya. Natalya won.
All I did was I watched a moment of the kickoff on YouTube, and I screen capped some of the comments. And my God, it's like 28,000 people watching, and it's just like the weirdest, most vile comments, you know. It's just these people, man. Anyways, so I thought the intro was pretty cool. It had like a really cool like radio person doing the Hell in a Cell, and there was like apparently some like Aussie voiceover because his song was being used for Hell in a Cell, which is pretty cool. The match that kicked us off was Bayley versus Bianca Belair. I thought this was the match of the night, and it kicked off the show. Maybe, I don't know, if this main evented, maybe my perception of the show in general would have been a bit different. Sometimes the last taste you have is the best one, and that's what you walk away with. But I thought it for sure had the best. It for sure had the best finish because, man, this was brutal. So the story of this was kind of Bayley like trying to reference a lot of the stuff that happened last year with Sasha Banks. She's getting very creative, but it would always backfire on her. So she introduced chairs pretty early. There's a standoff. She gets one before Bianca can get one. And also the hair comes into play a lot. Bayley whiffs on her first attempt to use the chair. Bianca uses her braid against the chair, then rams Bayley into the corner, then drop kicks her into the chair. So everything seems to backfire on Bayley in this match. Bayley takes over using the steel steps, ties Bianca's hair to the ropes, but she trips over the hair. Bianca uses it as a trip line, and she runs in the steel steps, tripping over the hair. Bayley gets the upper hand with the kendo stick, hits a sunset flip powerbomb into the cell wall. Bayley gets out the quad kendo stick contraption, makes like a bridge like happened last year, but she ended up going through him with a terrific spine buster from Bianca. That looked great. Bayley works Bianca over with the chair, though, ties her hair to the chair. Bayley tries to hit a knee to the chair, but Bianca's able to counter and sort of hits the chair on Bayley's knee. She takes over, ties her hair to Bayley's hand, sends her into the cell wall. Bayley grabs a ladder, rams it into Bianca's midsection. Go down this finish because I missed a couple of the bits leading to the KOD on the open ladder.
You talk about the ladder, and she hits Bianca in the midsection with it, starts working over Bianca's arm with the ladder. That was Bayley's primary focus, was Bianca's arm. Down towards the finish, Bianca hits a glam slam into the corner and then hits a senton on Bayley while she's on top of the ladder. Then she sets up the ladder so it's laying down flat on one side but opens it up. Yeah, like Steve. Do the shape
like
again.
this right here.
Yes. And then hits a KOD on top of that to get the win. So
I thought this was a really, really good match. You could see Bianca getting, improving in the ring. She's already awesome, but improving, getting even better, working with Bayley. Creative. It's great.
It's great stuff. Afterwards, Bianca has an interview backstage. She talks about how, the match was brutal. She kept the title even though Bayley kicked her butt. That's pretty much it. So we got a quick little bit of MVP and Bob Lashley back in their private lounge. They're partying, and then Lashley gets serious. He's focusing. He's focused. Focused. We go to Alexa's playground. It talks about how it's nice everybody joined her tonight. Lily is still serving her timeout. She was naughty, but not nearly as naughty as Shayna. Shayna brought this on herself, so don't blame Alexa. But there are lessons to be learned here. Be careful what you wish for and expect the unexpected. When you knock on my door, you never know who or what will answer. So then we get Cesaro versus Seth Rollins.
Yeah. So did we ever get confirmation that Seth Rollins was referencing the final battle?
Or there was more than the final battle. There was the original miniseries and the final battle, and then there was like a regular weekly series that might have lasted a season or two. I was a bit of a V aficionado in the mid late 80s. So,
well, I want to know if this attire is truly, the saga of the lizard people come to Earth.
That I don't know.
Acting as friend first, but are they friend or foe? Foe. They're actually foe.
They were foe. Yeah, spoiler alert, they were foe.
So Rollins attacked Cesaro before the bell here. Didn't really matter much, though, because Cesaro took over pretty early.
he fended Seth off pretty quickly.
Pretty easily.
Despite the sneak attack.
Rollins takes back over, though. Cesaro takes back over, stuffs Rollins' glove in his mouth, then hits a Rainmaker. Cesaro boots the glove out of the ring, power slams Rollins. Rollins gets the upper hand. Cesaro hits him with a discus lariat. Cesaro gets that swing in, but that's sort of his win for the night because after that, he just starts stomping the crap out of Rollins' arm, and then Rollins takes advantage of Cesaro and his blood passion and rolls him up for 3.
There was at least twice that Cesaro took the level of violence to a degree that we're not used to from him. It was earlier than towards the end. So there's this great sequence where Cesaro puts Seth in a sharpshooter. Seth goes and reaches for the ropes. And so Cesaro grabs his arm, transitions to a crossface. Seth rolls him up. They get to 2. Cesaro right out of the kick out, right back into the sharpshooter. And then Seth does the same thing. He's reaching for the ropes again. Looks like Cesaro's going to go for the crossface again. Instead, he just starts stomping on his arm repeatedly.
Yeah.
And he's just getting heated. And then he takes a pause, just the briefest pause, and then Seth rolls him up for the win.
Yep.
So I understand it's not a satisfying for pay-per-view, not a satisfying finish to the match, but from the point of view of the story they're telling, I get it. I don't mind it. It's real like when Drew beat Randy by backslide at SummerSlam last year. This is all off Randy beating Edge, best wrestler in the world, and in a wrestling match he got beat by a backslide. A wrestling move, We didn't take a Claymore. It took an old school wrestling move to beat him. So satisfying, maybe not. Consistent with the story they're trying to tell, yeah.
And that's asking a lot these days. So you have to appreciate it when it happens. After that, was there anything between that and Shayna versus Alexa Bliss?
Yeah, there was a brief little interview with Shayna. Oh, you might have been making.
No, that was the one at Gorilla.
Yes.
Yeah. So I saw that. I didn't know there's any interviews or anything. So yeah, before Shayna versus Alexa, they interviewed Shayna. Interviewer brings up Lily. She says, "Don't mention Lily again." Is Lily going to come back or no? I thought there was rumblings that hasn't Alexa.
I thought I heard
she's going to come back.
I thought I heard something.
She said Alexa has fun playing with dolls. I have fun hurting people. Nia interjects, says, there's nothing wrong with having a little luck. And Reggie tries to do the gentleman's kiss to Shayna's hand. Shayna just slaps it away. This was a decent enough match. I just want Alexa to be done. I appreciate at least that the hypnosis stuff was merely a distraction and not a focal point, didn't lead directly to the match because, Alexa's laughing off a lot of Shayna's offense here.
Virtually all of it.
She does the elbow stomp thing, but Alexa's in her trance state, so none of it really matters. She tries at one point as they're standing and Alexa has her arms wrapped up, and Alexa tries to hypnotize Shayna, and Shayna's able to sort of fend it off and backs up and says, "No, you're not going to do that to me." Well, then she finds an easier mark evidently, and that's Nia Jax.
Yeah.
So Shayna breaks free of that, but then she eats a Luthez press. Alexa hypnotizes Nia Jax at that point. She does the hand thing and the hand movement stuff.
As kind of cheesy as what it was, I thought from a performance aspect, it was pretty well executed.
I'm okay with this stuff as long as it doesn't dictate the finish of the match, and this didn't. And I do think that there's a more clever way they can use this stuff, although if they try this in front of fans, they're going to shit all over it. But I like the idea. I think it's a clever idea. So anyways, Alexa hypnotizes Nia Jax. Reggie comes over and tries to sort of, find out what's going on. Nia just slaps the shit out of Reggie. And right when she does that, Alexa lets out this demonic scream, and Nia mirrors that. It's kind of a cool moment.
Yeah.
So then Shayna tries to take Alexa's back.
And that's when she goes for the clutch, that's when the hypnosis like ceases. And Nia is like, oh my gosh, what have I done? So yeah. And then Bliss escapes, punches Shayna in the throat.
Oh yeah.
Hits kind of like a Sister Abigail DDT, twisted Bliss to get the win.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm glad again that this wasn't like, oh, she has Nia Jax attack Shayna Baszler or some goofy shit like that. This was wrestling moves won the match. Yes. I don't necessarily agree that Shayna Baszler should be eating a loss like this, but Alexa's powered up like the Fiend, so I guess it's fine.
I guess it makes sense.
It is what it is. I mean, we asked for story logic. It's kind of as close as we're going to get.
I think so. After that, we had Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. So Kevin Owens is just like coughing all over the place early in this match because he got the nail.
Still has the effects of the nail
from Friday,
Dos nails,
which is, again, internal inconsistency over on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
You get stabbed in the throat twice. Oh, that hurt.
Careful, dude. And I'm like,
probably be coughing.
Why are you still doing that?
So Sammy, like early on, kicks Kevin Owens when he's coming in the ring. Owens then turns tables and is just wrecking Sammy for a while. Corner clothesline, cannonball. And then Sammy starts targeting Kevin Owens' throat. Kind of yanks his throat over the second rope. Hits a tope. And after that, Kevin Owens is selling shoulder. Actually got me worried about him. He's doing such a damn good job selling shoulder, like he dislocated his shoulder. He's a terrific wrestler. So Sammy is targeting shoulder for a while. Owens makes a comeback, some ground and pound. Sends Sammy out of the ring, hits clothesline, goes for a swanton off the apron. Sammy gets his knees up, back of the ring, Blue Thunder Bomb gets a 2. So Owens goes for a stunner. Sammy counters that with a half and half suplex. That gets him a 2. Owens rolls out to the floor. Sammy follows. Owens hits him with a stunner. Sammy just barely beats that 10 count. Barely. So Owens hits a bunch of stomps. Sammy rolls the apron. He drapes Owens' arm and throat over the top rope. So Owens is kind of stumbling towards the ropes opposite hard camp.
Mm-hmm.
And Sammy runs behind him, knees him in the back of the head so his throat bounces off the bottom rope. Kevin Owens gets up in the corner, eats a haluva kick. Sammy gets the W.
Yep. And Owens is afterwards. He's like, they're doing a really good job. Hey, he got beat. This is kind of a big deal. He's telling the trainers there, hey, this hurts. It hurts. I don't like it.
Yeah.
All right. I think he was pointing his shoulder. His shoulder's busted up. Yeah, good stuff. I like that match. I like that match a lot. You can put these guys in a ring for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. I prefer 30 minutes.
Honestly, yes.
But I'll take
with any kind of story. But here's the thing: with any kind of story,
doesn't matter.
They'll do a good job telling.
Doesn't matter.
Comedy match.
They literally put Logan Paul in that match last to WrestleMania, and it was like
good.
Still a great match.
Even though it barely got any time, it was still really good.
Still a great match. After that, we had Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley, yeah. So the finish of this match left a lot to be desired, but I like this because it started with Charlotte sort of doing the sucker punch attack to Rhea. She throws the title she grabs the title from the ref as the ref is holding it up, throws it at Rhea, like sucker punches her, and then says, "That's lesson number 1." So that's sort of the thing.
She boots Rhea from the ring. That's lesson 2.
Lesson number 2. Rhea comes back though, hits a Rainmaker, headbutt, super kick, missile drop kick, gets 2. Charlotte hits natural selection kind of out of nowhere, tries for a cheat pin, but Rhea kicks out of it. Charlotte hits that moonsault and then the recovery moonsault for 2. Charlotte keeps on working Rhea's leg. That's sort of the story coming out of that. Rhea hits a superplex for 2. We get some big chops from Charlotte, but then she ends up eating one of those turnbuckle pads. Then a riptide, but it's right near the ropes. Charlotte gets to the ropes. She gets that hand on the ropes or leg on the ropes, whatever it is. So they end up on the outside. Yeah, foot. Charlotte rams. She ends up running into Rhea's knees against the steps. So she sort of sandwiches them against those steps really hard. Rhea sells it like crazy. Back on the inside, she hits a spear, figure 4. They end up rolling to the outside. And then Rhea sort of stumbles to the table and chucks. She sort of like just flips the table.
The hood
of the announce table.
Plywood hood of the table, yes.
Which just comes off like nothing. And it hits Charlotte. And the ref immediately DQs Charlotte gets the DQ win. And boy, you lost your shit there.
Because it was a terrible finish. If you want a DQ finish, you want Rhea to lose her cool and get DQ'd intentionally, then do that. Her kind of like flipping the hood of the table ain't it.
I like when Larson loses his cool because it means more eyeballs on Going In Raw.
I guess so, because it was just a ridiculous finish.
And of course, it led to squeaking out another win.
Another tie with the Enforcer.
Another tie with the Enforcer. Another tie with the Enforcer.
I think that's 4 of the last 5 pay-per-views. There's been a tie in some.
Oh my god!
There's been a lot of ties. You know why the whole reason we started doing confidence points? Because we were tired of ties.
I know, but it kind of shows that we do. Well, look, here's the thing: we got a clean slate. Not a clean slate, but we're doing new stuff after SummerSlam. We're adding the Enforcer somehow to like the entire title scene.
Yeah,
Mothman might be added via Friendos. So lot fewer opportunities for ties. So, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know
either. I don't know. So anyways, after that ridiculous, stupid DQ, there's some more brawling. Rhea hits a riptide, whatever. The finish was bullshit, So I guess Rhea got her heat back, hitting that riptide. We're going to see this again at Money in the Bank. Charlotte will probably win there. Maggie
asked, Steve, can you give me some lottery numbers? She says, I'll share the earnings via the Patreon. Absolutely, because I've been killing it lately with all these ties. Or you can ask Enforcer, because we've been tying a lot.
Yeah, there's been a lot of ties.
A lot of ties. But champion's advantage, man. If you want to be the man, you can't just tie the man, Larson. You got to beat the man.
I had an idea of whoever, in the event of a tie, whoever picked most number of matches correctly. But here's the problem: on the 6-match card, guess what? We all picked 5 matches correctly.
Yeah, dude. You know what, man? I have no problem, because I'm probably gonna lose this thing at Money in the Bank. I'd prefer to lose it in a big way at SummerSlam, but at this point, I just kind of want to lose it because, you're losing your. I feel like Impact, you got screwed so properly, so bad. That was horrible. And then tonight, because you were so full of I feel pretty good.
I thought there's a pretty good chance, given the story we had seen play on television, that Charlotte was going to get herself DQ'd.
So close. They could have. I mean, it was honestly a coin flip in this case. They could have gone with that.
I know. That would have made sense with the story they were telling on Raw. It made all sense.
Here's the thing, though, dude. Here's the thing. Charlotte, I suspect, knows how to politic backstage. She's like, well, if anybody's going to eat the loss, shouldn't it be Rhea? Why would it be me?
Anybody's going to lose their cool.
I ate the loss to Nikki Cross a couple times.
Well, they're like, well, you got counted out once, and then you took longer than 2 minutes. You didn't get pinned. You didn't get submitted.
Woo! I don't lose here. Woo!
Instead, we all lost, having to watch through that finish.
Her name should be Charlotte Fair.
Because she doesn't lose.
She don't take the L's, man.
She don't take L's, yes. All right, let's
talk
about this main
event.
Neil
Dashwood. Never bet against Neil Dashwood.
I guess not. Let's talk about this main event. Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. Another really well-wrestled, physical match that was a decent finish short from being a quality bout.
Mm-hmm.
We went over the finish kind of a lot earlier in the show. We had the requisite ref bump that led to the opening of the cage.
It was a really violent ref bump, too.
It was, which led to MVP getting in there. MVP got involved earlier, handing Lashley his cane to take to Drew.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a lot of really physical spots early on. Drew hits an air raid crash on the ring steps after throwing the ring steps around all over the place. The cane bit, that was good because Drew early on was wrecking Lashley.
Yeah.
Wrecking.
Yeah.
And then after the cane spot, it didn't take Drew long to resume reestablish the advantage. Hits a reverse Alabama slam into a chair.
Mm-hmm.
That gets with 2.
That air raid crash onto the steel steps earlier was gnarly. That was good stuff. Yeah.
So he hits Lashley with a chair, goes for another chair shot off the top. Lashley evades that. It's looking for a hurt lock. Drew escapes, hits the spine buster. 2 count. Power bomb after that. And so they're down on the floor, and Drew tries to hit Lashley in the head with the ring steps. Well, Lashley blocked that, and then he started ramming the ring steps into Drew's head against the cage repeatedly.
It looked great. Yeah, it looked really cool. I mean,
It
you could
looked
see
great.
that there's like, there's
A massive
the
gap
spot,
that
but still,
there's no
it looked
contact
cool.
whatsoever.
Yeah,
But the idea
these
of it
guys were
was
killing
cool.
themselves in there, dude.
They were beating the heck out of each other. Exactly. So at that point, MVP takes a kendo stick and pins Drew against the cage, and then Lashley just starts hitting a bunch of shots, body shots across Drew's chin. Lashley takes a moment to get his breath. Drew breaks through the kendo stick. Lashley drops him with a flatliner. Then Lashley in the ring sets up a chair, hits Drew with a flatliner on that. Then again, some kendo stick shots. Drew catches one, takes a chair to Lashley, and that's when the ref bump happens. So Bobby pushes Drew into the ref while Drew has the chair up. So the ref hits the chair. Drew then pushes Lashley into a chair that he had set up in the corner earlier in the match. Hits a future shock, covers, but there's no ref. So Drew tells the ref who's manning the door, get in the ring. While that's happening, Lashley puts on the hurt lock. Drew escapes that, hits belly to belly, some more chair shots. Claymore, again, covers. Ref makes his way in. However, the door is open, allowing MVP to get in the cage. He pulls the ref out of the ring during the cover. Drew is very upset. He goes after MVP, hits him with the Claymore. MVP rolls out of the ring to the floor. Drew follows. It looks like he's trying to take his Hurt Business chain off of him. Yeah. Lashley comes up behind him. Hurt lock. See, it's this like similar situation he was in earlier, I guess, or later in the match. Hurt lock. Drew tries to use the wall of the cage to break it. Can't. Instead, he rams himself and Lashley backwards through a table that had been set up in the corner of the cage earlier. Back of the ring, Drew clobbers Lashley with a bunch of chair shots, goes for a Claymore. Lashley either ducks or collapses to avoid it. Lashley clotheslines Drew into the ring post, then choke slams Drew off the apron through a table. Lashley's going for a spear. Drew avoids that, looks for a backslide. Bobby kicks out. Drew hits a headbutt, future shock. He's setting up for a Claymore, and that's when MVP grabs his ankle, and Lashley comes to enough to roll up Drew to get the W.
Yeah. It would have been so cool if, I don't know. I probably would have appreciated a lot more if Drew, kicks his leg free and then eats a spear or two, Like something violent, something to validate the violence of this match. Because, man,
I know
good stuff.
The roll-up really undercuts the lengths these two guys went to put on a really hard-hitting physical match.
Yeah.
It just ends in a roll-up.
I watched Shuri versus Hayashi Shida in Stardom, and that match was it was violence until you got a time limit draw, and then they get on the mics and they say, "Hey, I don't want this to stop," so that I don't want to spoil it for people, but it's just violence, infinite violence, and they're brutal. Killer match. This is the one that Meltzer gave like 5.5 stars to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it's great, and I'm like, that's sort of That's how I wouldn't mind to see this end, just pure violence until they can't do violence anymore. Instead, you get a roll up.
I know.
I don't know, and it's the blow off. It's like Drew. I like you said, I understand. Well, in a way, it keeps. Why was Drew trying to get MVP's necklace? That was such a Debo thing. While I'm down here, I'm gonna steal this guy's jewelry. Oh, the encrusted diamonds. I'm gonna take. I like rocks. Get the flying rocks for my entrance, and I got these rocks too. Yeah, I don't know, man. Violence, no roll-ups. Oh, he stuffed it in his mouth. Is that what he did?
Oh,
Muted Mayday says he stuffed. It'd been way cooler if he took it.
The camera was behind Drew when she was leaning over MVP. It was hard to tell exactly what he was doing on my little screen here.
Yeah. Man, good stuff. Anyways, there's our review. We got a couple of questions here in our Twitch chat.
Sure.
White Brownie says, should NXT be included in Money in the Bank matches like they are with the Rumble matches?
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Sure.
Make a deal of it in NXT. Have qualifying matches,
Yeah.
like a little mini tournament.
Big four. Put NXT matches in them. Why
know.
not?
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Be great.
Mr. Dark with sub here says, why was Roman versus Ray really moved to SmackDown? We don't know for sure. I would suspect it has to do with ratings and such.
Man, they really should have just put Drew versus Bobby on Raw with that finish and Roman versus Ray on the pay-per-view with that finish. Because that was a good match.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good match.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Dr. Lipkin says, speaking of the man, Becky wins Money in the Bank and cashes in on a newly champion Charlotte. Could be.
It's possible, I suppose.
It's possible. I think we're going to get some fun. I think the good shit's coming up. We're going to get some fun stuff.
I think we're going to get some short-term stuff they think is going to solve problems, but after that short-term stuff has happened, we're going to go back to the same old stuff.
Well, wrestling is a series of moments. All you have to worry about are the short-term things.
But here's the
Popping
thing.
ratings.
If you don't tell the stories that make those moments really meaningful, they're kind of forgettable in the end.
That's what you want. Mikhail. Okay. More red card jokes. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate it. Twitch chat, stick around. We'll talk to you guys for a bit. We'll talk at you for a bit. Thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.